What's up, storytellers? We are here for another episode of the One Clear Story podcast. My name is Alex Street, and oh my, today we've got a good one where we are really going to zoom in on a moment of your life that you really want to tell the world about. Except, does it really matter? Do we really care? Will it do anything that you want it to do if you share that moment in public? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, does the moment matter? Do we really care? And what was the point of it anyways? And so when I'm thinking about a moment, this has come up for me in a few coaching calls recently where someone is really locked in on a moment of impact in their life. There's this moment that they've experienced where something magical, mystical, incredible, powerful happened. And they want to tell the world about it because it was really this outstanding experience. And I know that you have these moments as well. Of course you do. It could be the moment that your child was born and you're like, I just want to tell people about the magic that I experienced when I first held my baby. Or it could be the moment that the car narrowly missed hitting you head on and went out that way, and then you helped them and they were not scratched, and it was this incredible experience. Wow, yeah, you could tell about that moment. It could be the moment that you knew that you were falling in love. It could be the moment that you left your career, you walked in and put that letter on your boss's desk, and that was the end of it, not knowing what was next. These are all moments, yes? And they're moments that you experience, that I experience, and these shape us. They really do. And of course, we think that storytelling is telling about those moments. For me to be a good storyteller, for me to captivate an audience, I need to have really impactful, captivating moments to talk about. And if you live by that mindset, well, then you're going through life, and when one of those moments happens, you're like, shoot, I need to tell people about this. This happened recently. Somebody came to me telling about this like really divine experience that they had, where they experienced this shift, this connection to other humans that really, I mean, in their words, could only be described as a God thing. And this is so cool when these things happen. Of course, like, what is going on here? How do we explain this? I want to tell people about this because it's going to open up a bigger conversation. Very good. Excellent. Yes, tell us about these moments. But let me offer you three ideas or three thoughts before you share about this specific moment. Something for you to consider. This is not going to be necessarily that you now crumple it up and throw it in the trash, maybe, but it will help you understand, how do I tell this? Why am I sharing this? And what was really the point of this moment? Before we get into that, of course, if you want to dive into any more story arc coaching or really understanding how the story arc works and forming your one clear story, then you should check out my website if you haven't already, alexstreet.ca. That is where you can find out all about my coaching and my events and anything that I'm up to, or just find me on Instagram at Street Says. I'm always sharing new thoughts, fresh ideas, and stories just about every day about what is inspiring me and what's showing up for me to help you be a more clear storyteller and speak with confidence like never before to make the impact that you are here to make. Now, to make that impact, of course, we got to talk about the moments. But which moments? And how do you know? And is there one moment? Is there one moment that's better than another moment? Now, here's the beauty of the one clear story. So let's get into these three ideas that I want to share with you today. One is that the moment is not the point of the story. Okay, did you hear that? The moment that you're going to share, that's not actually the point of your story. Two is the moment is never as important to your audience as it is to you. And a caveat to that one, kind of a 2.5, 2.1, 2.2. Another one is that the audience is thinking it's always about them, actually. Even if you're telling the story about you, it's not about you, it's about them. Can they apply this to their life? We'll get into that. And number 3 is that this moment was first for you. So do you recognize that? Do you appreciate that? And what's to come out of that? Now, as you think about the moment, let's go to this first point, because the moment is actually not the point of the story. This is demonstrated in the story arc. And when we talk about one clear story, you see that, yes, a moment of impact is the middle part of the story. And so it's the thing that we think we need to focus on. Just jump to the climax, get people engaged. That's what's really going to change them and make them lean forward and want to know more about us. And yet, that's not the story. Because you could tell us about the greatest moment, but it's not a story until there's a transformation. The transformation is the point of the story. So go ahead and tell us the moment, but please make sure that you are sharing how you felt before that moment and how you feel after that moment. That is the transformation. That's why the moment matters. Now, storytellers are inevitably going to make meaning out of moments. You hear that? Storytellers make meaning out of moments. That's what we're here to do. We're here to look at the moments that we experience and isolate them and then share them with meaning. And so we can do that, but the greatest way to actually share meaning about a moment is to clarify how that moment changed you. When you can clarify the transformation on either side of that moment, it elevates the moment to now really demonstrate or be the clear point of, not the point, to be this motion, this moving part of the story. Wow, I stumbled over my words there. Let's try that again. When you clarify that transformation on either side of the moment, it elevates the moment to impact people, to draw them in the way that you know that it can, and yet they can still walk away and say, oh, I totally understand why that moment mattered, because it changed you from feeling contained to feeling free. It changed you from feeling scared to feeling fearless. It changed you from feeling confused to feeling clear because of this moment. So the more that you can elevate the transformation, the more that the moment is actually going to mean something. But it's important for us to remember that the moment is not the point of the story. There's always a transformation. If there's no transformation, there's no story. You're just telling us, what happened. But it's not a story. It's a retelling of a list of events. Slight nuance there. There's another podcast in that, I'm sure. But let's go to point number 2. What about the moment? You want to share this moment that you've experienced, this incredible, experience that you just lived through. But why do we care? Why does the audience care about your moment? And this is a really interesting understanding or clarifying point for communicators to grasp onto is audiences don't care about the story or the moment in itself, except to be entertained in that moment, which then it would be up to the speaker to do a great job of entertaining you in the moment with this story. And that's where a lot of us get caught up and stuck in, well, I'm not a good enough storyteller. I'm not a good enough communicator. I can't pause at the right time and inflect in the right way. And I can't do other voices, or I don't know how to stand on stage. And I don't know how to really transfer that emotion that I want to transfer. Or I don't know how to get the words right? So we're all thinking about this performance aspect because we think that the job of this moment is simply to captivate people enough that they will remember us because that moment was so outstanding, so incredible, that they will talk about it for years to come. Maybe. And you and I both know that there are some people that you have seen speak that are such captivating storytellers that, yes, you do remember their story. But to hold yourself up to that standard is unfair, and that's not actually what you're here to do. You're here to tell your story, not to be the most entertaining and captivating storyteller. Sure, you can try for that. Go for that. We can teach you how to do that. But if you're just getting to this point, you're like, I just want to share my story. I want to talk about this moment. Well, here's what you need to remember is the audience doesn't care nearly as much as you do. That moment that you experienced means way more to you than it ever will to them. And that's actually good news, because when we understand, when we go in knowing that when I tell you the story about the last conversation that I had with my mom, I can paint that picture as much as I want to, but you are still running that through your own filters. I could tell you about the ICU room and how many beds were in there, but you're still running that through your filter of what you've experienced in an ICU. I could tell you about the incredible nurse that was there, that stayed past her shift to be with us as a family as my mom breathed her last. But you're going to run that through the filter of what you think this nurse looks like, acted like, what that nursing station was like, what her motivation was. You see what I'm saying? No matter how good of a storyteller I am to draw you into the moment, you're still always running it through your filter of your experience, your lived experience. Because it's always about you, the audience. As a speaker, it's really important for you to grasp this idea that when you speak, it's not actually about you, the speaker, it's about the audience. The audience is always the hero of their own story. And so when you are sharing your story, the goal is not to get them to remember you and your story, but to see themselves within it. That is our goal. When we are sharing this incredible moment, yes, you can draw people in, but the real gift of sharing a story and sharing a great moment, the real impact is made when you can help the audience see themselves within it, see their own meaning within the moment that you experienced. Whew! Now that might seem like a tall task because, well, they weren't there. They don't know it. How do I possibly draw them in to find their own meaning in my moment where I had my last conversation with my mom? Well, let's go back to point one. Make it about a transformation. Bring in the feelings. When you can identify the feelings and say, you know what, my mom was on her way out and I was really scared and I was really confused. Have you felt like that before? Whether it's losing a loved one or you're losing a career, you're losing something, and it's just really confusing because you feel like you should be able to fix it, but you can't. Have you felt that before? Yeah, of course you have. Now you're identifying the feelings that I was feeling in that moment. Then I can talk about the conversation that I had with my mom, and I can say that after that, as sad and as heartbroken, as terrible as it was, I found more clarity in who I was, where I came from, and what I'm supposed to do with the gift that I have in this world. And I wish that moment didn't happen, but I'm also glad that that's what I got out of that moment. So sometimes clarity comes out of confusion through a moment of heartbreak and loss. Now, you see what's happening there? You are finding yourself in that moment caring less about the ICU room and the details about the nurse and how old she was, or what her name was, or how many people were around my mom's bedside, or what even my mom looked like, because you are actually connected to the transformation. And that's where you are now putting that through the filter of your life and saying, I have felt that. I want to feel that. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a beautiful story. I wonder where those moments exist in my life too. And now you are actually doing what you're supposed to do as an audience member, which is bring this story through your filter of your experience and see that transformation is possible for you as well. And also to know that I've changed that way. So when you share this moment, let's come back to the point. It's never as important for you or for them as it was for you, because it's always about them. Everything you're saying is going through a filter of their life and their lived experience. And so your role as a communicator is not merely to share a captivating, fun, explosive, emotional moment and hope that it connects or assume that it will, But it's always about helping them see themselves in it, to invite them in, not just with details so that they can picture it, but specifically to see that they've experienced a transformation probably like this, just like this. And again, come back to number one. The moment isn't the point of the story. The transformation is. So let's pull them into it. And finally, the third point about the moment when you're thinking of sharing this emotional or impactful moment for the world is to really ask the question, is this for the world? Is this for them? Think about standing out on a dock at a lake and you see the most stunning sunset you've ever seen. I mean, the clouds are wispy and also kind of bubbly, and it's like this sheet over the sky that is just thin enough that you can see the blue coming through as the sun sets and is painting the horizon with this burning fire of orange, and then it starts to shine up and reflect off of those clouds, painting the entire sky. The atmosphere that you see as you look up is this mix of fuchsia and orange and red and yellow and blue and purple, somehow all working together to be the most magnificent sight you have ever seen. What are you going to do? Pull out your phone and take a picture of it to share on Instagram? Sure. But you and I both know it's never going to look as good as it does in the moment. So maybe, no shade on those that do that, but for this moment, maybe just consider that this moment is simply for you. What if that's all that this is? What if this is a moment where you get to live through and you get to experience and see that, wow, there is still beauty. There is beauty everywhere. There's magic everywhere. Just today, I was wondering about my purpose in this world and I mean, what's going to happen? And I'm really sweating the small stuff. And then I look up at this big sky and I see that there is always something bigger going on. That's for me. Maybe that story doesn't have to be shared. Are you with me? Maybe this moment is just for you. Maybe down the road it will be in your book of stories that you can share and you can pull from at any given moment. You could grab the phone right then and share that story that just came to mind for your followers because you are an impactful, impact-driven human and you want to pass these messages along. But also, maybe this is just for you. And that's enough. So, before you share that moment on Instagram, or social, or an email, or you take it to the stage, consider, A, are you telling that moment as the point of the story, or do you have a transformation beyond that moment? Point 2, are you aware that this will never mean as much to the audience as it does to you? And are you pulling them in to see themselves within your moment? Because that's what they're really looking for. And 3, have you considered that maybe this moment isn't for them, but it is just for you? Because we all need that. I hope that this is so helpful for you because, yes, we always talk about one clear story and these 4 points of the one clear story: the desire, the barrier, the moment, the transformation. But it's so fun to dig in and really get into, what does this look like when we're sharing this? What is the point of this? Why am I doing this? And when you can grasp onto that even more, you're going to be a more impactful storyteller. You're going to go forward with more authenticity. And you're really going to care about what is happening in the moment instead of simply going from this to this to this and sharing what is happening in your life. You're actually grabbing onto the things that matter most and making meaning out of them. Okay, storytellers, that is it for today. If this is helpful, please reach out to me and let me know. I love to hear all that and see all the comments and any shares that you can, muster around this podcast is always helpful. But for today, I hope that this was helpful for you and maybe even transformative. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.